X. Okay. Okay. So I guess yeah, I want to call them one by one. So I guess the first speaker will be me. Yeah. The first speaker. I'll mention their name of the first speaker. Icebreaker. Do you want me to do it? Do you want to do icebreaker? Sure. Like create. You want to impromptu this shit? Sure. Yeah. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Hello, everyone. So I hope that you guys had a good coffee session. How's everyone feeling today? Now, how's your mapping going? How's your bus stop design going? All the You will win, guys. Are we betting on the team on the left to win over here? Where's the bet? Who's betting for this team to win over here? No one, Oh, so like this is the only thing that will be winning tomorrow, Is this the only thing that will be winning tomorrow? No? You sure? Who else wants to win tomorrow?
I think everyone's confident.
Okay, yeah, these are the
with
winners.
their proposals, right?
So, yeah. But okay, so before we continue, right? So my name is Fazley and this is Celine. So I'm from Transit and she is from CMC. And before we start, we first want to do a little bit of an icebreaker session first with Celine. So let's give a big round of applause to Celine to start with it.
Okay. This is super random, but I don't know what. Maybe we could just all stand up. I know you're a bit sleepy. Okay. Can we play? Can I request to play something? We are going. No. We're going to do budots. Does anybody know what budots is? No? Budots. Budots. It's Budots. It's a famous dance that we do in the Philippines. I'm like the wrong person to show it to you. But okay. There's no budots. Maybe Adrian, you can. I think Adrian would be the best person to show how to do it. Okay. You can. Yeah, okay. So, this is what we turn up when there's good alcohol at 1 a.m. Oh, no. No. Not yet. Okay. But it's just a matter of, who wants to help me with this? Maybe Joseph? Joseph, can you show? Come on. Everybody. Joseph. Okay. Show them how to do budots. I put you in the spot. Yeah. Come on. Budots. It's kind of... I don't know. I'm shy. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, use it. Okay, just go. Follow him. Okay. I don't really know. Come on, do it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, just dance. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay, let's just do jumping jacks to make it easier for everybody. Okay, let's do it. Just 10. Okay. 1, 2. Okay, 1. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Thank you everybody for indulging me.
Okay, so apparently now we have energized ourselves a bit of an awkward session just now. So today, as you guys have read in our schedule, where's my schedule again? Wait, is this the right one? Yeah. So So I am proud to be. So I'm gonna start off with mentioning to invite the first speakers up on stage. So the first one is we have Mr. Ernest Wong of ST Wong and Partners to start off with. Sorry. Um, is the slide coming up? Sorry. So no, I think like I thought there wasn't gonna be a name. Yeah. Give me a sec.
Yeah, Ernest, can you come in front? Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Ernest Wong of ST Partners. He'll be talking about how he's mapping wayfinding in his research of doing so in Kuala Lumpur. And second up,
And to talk about how to incorporate barrier-free design in Kuala Lumpur, let us all welcome to the stage Hasbee from SIUMAN Collective.
the third speaker that we have will be. I'm sorry. Well, the third speaker for today will be from Studio Kek Feng, who has designed the recent pink BAS.MY maps and the bus designs. So let's invite Studio. I'm sorry. Let's invite Studio Kek Feng to the stage.
And last but not the least, to talk about advocacy for governance and accessible transport, let me call onto the stage Solahuddin. Are you here?
Sorry. Can we invite Solahuddin to the stage? Is Solahuddin? Oh no. Sorry. Can we invite Akil to actually come up to the stage if we have? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I guess let's begin first with having Ernest to come up and give us a presentation about how Kuala Lumpur has been doing with its wayfinding, if it has it. Let's go up.
Thank you. Let me just check with the clicker, see how this is good. Is it working? Was it? You got it? Okay, anyways, hello guys. And for our Thai friends, Saudi Cup. For our Filipino friends, mabuhay. And then for, I guess, the greater Nusantara region, salam sejahtera. And of course, for Malaysian friends, salam Malaysia Madani. No. Anyways, we're going to have to try to do this a bit quick because I have quite a bit to talk a little bit about wayfinding, especially for transit in Kuala Lumpur. Let me see, does this thing click? Okay, lovely. I'd like to actually confess something that may trouble some of you guys. And if you have been with me for a while, you will know it's probably not shocking, but I don't use QR payments. I use cash and card. And you might think, wow, this guy's very old-fashioned. Wow, who is this person? What does he think it is? Yes, well, if you have hung out with me for a while, you might also maybe notice, hey, Ernest, don't you use Apple Pay? And I'll say, yes, I do, shamelessly. But the reason why I like to actually tell you this confession is that there is a physical analog to Apple Pay. So let's say if my phone is dead, I can still pay for certain things. But if I were to rely on QR payments, if my phone is dead, I have no way of paying anything. So in that sense, why do we also do the same thing for bus information? Why do we hide everything behind a QR code? And then at the same time, why do we also hide it behind so many different multiple mobile apps? There's so many of them, right? So we have GoKL. In Johor, you have another one. For Selangor, you have another one. And for PJ, they also have another one. And then at the bottom, that's where you can book like this on-demand vans. And previously, it was with 3 apps. Now it's with 1. But then there are also some private operators that still insist on their own app. And I'd like to actually bring your attention to this very lovely comic because it really simplifies just how problematic having so many apps. Because yes, I want to create an app to compete and be the best of everyone else. And then the outcome is that you have another app, another public transport app in the ecosystem, as we see in the case with Malaysia. So how do we solve this? What should be the way forward? So I'd like to actually maybe perhaps show you a bit of the science that we have here. So in fact, I've actually have one of such relics. from this era called the bus network revamp. So as part of the bus network revamp, oh, thank you. As part of the bus network revamp, the former Land Public Transport the Land Public Transport Commission, so that would be the Suruhanjaya Pengamatan Awam Darat, they actually had a lot of money to commission signages like this, and they actually have it installed all around the Klang Valley. Because previously, the signs that you have is very disparate. So there was Replicale, there was also Triton buses, there was also Lenseng, all these different operators. They don't even have their own signage. So the government around in 2011, 2012, they actually did this lovely linear, thank you. This lovely linear wayfinding map that actually tells you all the bus stops, and right at the bottom, it's a bit hard to see, the services, service time, frequency, fare payment, stuff like that, right? But ever since, unfortunately, when the, thank you. Unfortunately, when the commission was dissolved in around 2018, no one could update the maps because the commission is gone. And the new agency, the Land Public Transport Agency that came to absorb the current responsibilities, they didn't really update the maps. So perhaps to show you a bit of the assortment that came post, after the commission, we have various different types of signages. So to the left, that was from the signages for the feeder buses for the Kajang line, the MRT1 line. And then the one to the middle, that's about the size of A4, which is a bit disappointing. And then the one to the right, that's from GoKL. In fact, some of the newer versions of the GoKL map looks something like this. They don't even give you a map anymore. They just give you a linear list of bus stops, like so. And you can see they have this very similar vernacular. They have this sort of list, this massive list of bus stops, and they assume that you know where all these bus stops are. You can plot them on your map. And then on top of that, we also have various problems associated with this regime of wayfinding, where sometimes we have two of the same, the same bus stop could have two poles for two different services because they're all made from a different era. And as I've shown you as well, we also hide stuff behind a QR code. And now in the recent advent of the rapid on-demand service, this kind of like on-demand van you can book, there's also no permanent wayfinding for most of them. I am aware that the Shah Alam line does have some poles, but they're just poles. They don't really give you information. So, which is why I want to actually bring you to why is it so important about getting good wayfinding. Because if you have bad wayfinding, people can't discover your services, especially for public transport operators. And then for users, we get confused because, how on earth are we supposed to take the buses? And if you don't take the buses, people just don't. They'll drive, as is the case with Malaysia. And this is an unfortunate negative cycle where you do see operators sort of cutting down bus services because they see, people's not taking the buses, then we just cut it down. And then people see, there's no more buses, but we have no idea where the buses go. And it just sort of goes into this negative spiral, right? So change can be done. It is entirely possible. And how can we do that? So first, I actually started off to do this project where I wanted to think, okay, let's say if you want to actually put something that works, what kind of guidelines should I set for myself? So first, it needs to be informative and accessible. So that means when you read it off the glance, you know what bus services are there, what's happening, where does it bring you to, and any other useful information there is. So in fact, that post over there was posted in 2024. It's part of a little exercise for myself to try to illustrate bus disruptions. This is specifically for a bus disruption in the University of Malaysia's campus, where they have quite a number of frequent replica bus services, and it was disrupted because of a very major event. And then secondly, the signage should ideally be operator agnostic, because a large problem with the signages that we have now is they're very tailored to the operator. So if you can sort of make it so that it is neutral and that it's applicable for everyone, that's great. Right? And last but not least, it should ideally be modular and responsive, because earlier this year, we actually have quite a number of bus route changes, cuts as well, that is in a scale of that we've never seen, actually. And so this is ideally, if we want to do design like this, it needs to be something that could be cheaply modified as we go, right? Okay, so this is one of such prototypes. I'm just going to walk out of frame, I'm so sorry, to bring in the replica of the signage that is present, like so. I think I'll just put it on my foot for the camera. Can you guys see it? Okay, lovely. So, anyways, not that it matters, but later on you can have a look at the at the table later. So this is the first prototype production that was made from support by Transport for Jakarta, which I'm extremely grateful for. And so let me just give you a tour of what's in this sign. So of course, the most important thing is the name of the bus stop. And for some people, they also would like to code it with the bus stop code. So some bus stops do actually have bus stop codes. And this is also again tied with the street name. And for places where the bus stop is quite close to rail connections, that's also shown. And then there's also the massive bus service header. So this is sort of categorized in the hierarchy, like we think, okay, let's say at a bus stop, and suddenly a bus approaches to you. Can you quickly identify where does this bus go and how and where does it go towards to? So if you see, let's say the bus 400 literally approaching right in front of you, or let's say you want to identify a new service, then see 400 because that is the service number that the bus service is assigned to, followed by its heading on the bus sign. Sometimes the LEDs on the buses, the EDS as we call it, it doesn't really match, but that's a different problem. Anyways, as also you can see payment information and also which operator runs a bus service, because not all bus services in KL is run by Rapid KL. Right, and then after that we have the key destination index, because this is sort of my implementation to the problem, largely where you have the issue where, for instance, you can't get people to visualize the entirety of the route and say, oh, do you know where Jalan Berkumba 5 is? No one knows that. But if you tell people, oh, do you know where the Eon Maluri is? I was like, right. So we can have that illustrated like such. I think it will probably make people to find the location much easier based on the bus service. And after that, there's also the various different ways of illustrating schedules. So to the left, this is a frequency sort of like a frame. So you can see that, okay, the bus is going to come every 15-20 minutes, which is fairly decent in Kuala Lumpur. But there's also some bus services where it's not as frequent, where I instead try to illustrate it by a table. It's a bit accessible. And then there's also a mix where it is very frequent during weekdays, but not so on weekends. So you can see to the right, that's how it's illustrated as such. And the colors, you might also notice, is actually a homage to the bus network revamp that was done back in 2012. So the colors were in a way assigned based on the first digit of the buses. So for buses in the 400 series, they were assigned to this kind of like teal color. And then for buses in the 500 series, they were assigned in a very dark blue color. So in a way, the color coding, it's not official, but it's a nice homage because I needed like a background color to associate the rest for the bus services from others. Okay. And after that, we also have a panel to illustrate DRT services, microtransit, because that's also getting popular in KL, but they don't have like a home in our current physical signages. So we can give them a home as such, show people, okay, this is the stop for the rapid on-demand service or a third-party operator. Then you can also scan the app to download it, or you can also even show where you even bought the bus service, or sorry, the van service. And last but not least, at the bottom, you can also see more accessible information about your contact information about your operators, because sometimes there may be more than one operator serving that particular bus stop. And also, let's say you want to feedback complaints about the bus shelter, then there's also the contact information for the Kuala Lumpur City Hall on the bottom left. The icons are also created in conjunction with the signage as well. So then it's also helpful to illustrate, let's say this bus service is only accepts touch and go. Then this is how, then just slap on the icon over there rather than writing the entire thing, touch and go payment, right? Because people associate icons much faster and easier compared to words. And last but not least, something a bit on the novelty end. There's also this Fair Zone guide in 4 languages. And Fair Zones, unfortunately, is not very well illustrated in our current wayfinding system, even though it's very important for payment, especially for our trunk bus routes. So where do you go from here? So ideally, we would love to work with operators and also local councils in order to implement this solution, since this is effectively something that we need to work with all stakeholders in this regard, because the local councils to the left, they manage the bus shelters. The ones to the right, the public transport operators, they run the bus services that serves the people from the bus shelters. So ideally for local authorities, we would like them to adopt with this particular design, since it is operator agnostic, so it's very easy to adopt and update the signages as such. And for public transport operators, we would ideally love to have them to supply the information to us so that we're able to get the most accurate information that we can then supply for bus riders. And of course, this system, the STEADS system, is not just for buses. It can actually be expanded further as well to an entirely whole ecosystem of wayfinding, especially for public transport stations like big bus terminals or even rail stations as well. This is all in work in progress, but right now, given my current capacity, I am trying to push forward for instead a much more standardized bus stop shelter information, since I don't think in Kuala Lumpur we actually have that, unfortunately. And last but not least, this system is also digital ready as well. So this is one little demo I did. It's not live, but I thought it's a nice thing to show. Okay, let's say if I want to port the STEADS system into something digital, what will it look like? So that's just one little fun design experiment. And of course, there's multiple benefits to local authorities. As you can see, with better wayfinding, it can help, especially for the local authorities that actually operate their own bus service. They can, They can get higher uptake for those bus services. And of course, for the community as well, it would improve so many things, especially about accessibility to identify the bus services. Because I often find when I don't have my phone, it's very, very frustrating to take the bus services because I don't have access to the bus information, scheduling. Right. So of course, once again, good wayfinding reinforces positive perceptions about how we think about transit as well. It's a positive loop. The moment we start from here, it goes much, much better. And last but not least, I actually like to just shout out just very briefly about a website that I just came across as part of my research. Vector Designs. This is a website that predates me. I think I was in secondary school when this website came around. So there was actually a company that did mapping, and it's all voluntarily by this former journalist. And then they also actually operate like this sort of like a blog that showcases all of the updates to public transport within Kuala Lumpur as well. So in a way, it also serves as sort of like a time capsule about the changes of public transport within Kuala Lumpur, which I find it to be quite interesting because you can see, if you ever go to the website, Vector Designs, in the blog, you can see the changes of Kuala Lumpur as it transitions from minibuses all the way to the rigid 12-meter buses as we have. And the website, before it was shut down, they actually did produce this sort of like very neat spider map for Brickfields, which I actually just found, I think, last night. So I thought it would be, I didn't want to print it because a lot of the bus routes actually don't exist anymore as part of the bus network revamp. But I thought it's quite nice of the work that they've done that predates many, many years before me. And last but not least, very, very quickly, for public transport operators, the quickest and the fastest thing you can do to literally improve and make my work so much easier is to put everything on open data via the GTFS. So if you go to developer.data.gov.my, you can look at this lovely website where you can put in an API to supply public transport information. Because the moment you do that, it makes information for your public transport services so much easier to discover and explore. And especially for regional advocates, I think this is something that we should actually push for, so that we're able to make public transport more accessible with open data. And I'd just like to close off with this quote, where oftentimes good design is something that you rarely ever notice because it just kind of fits in like a tight glove. But bad design really, really, really sticks out. And with that, thank you so much. Oh, just very quickly, last but not least, just some of like the works that we do as part of my design studio. We often engage with public transport operators, with local government councils on improving public transport operations and also making it more legible for operators. So if any public transport operators and local councils would love to collaborate, we are open. But yeah, I think that's it. Yes, thank you so much.
Hasbee,
okay.
give you the floor.
Hi, my name is Hasbee. I'm supposed to sit here. Oh, great. Sorry, not sit, stand. Hi, my name is Hasbee. So as you notice, my topic is a bit different from what they gave me. I'm talking about, and thanks for Ernest. Actually, it segues very nicely into my presentation. First off, I want to apologize. I just noticed that this is not calling out any of the organizers. When I got here, I just noticed that the panel is all men. I have actually signed a pledge not to participate on men-only panels. But I've already spoken with the organizers, and they will improve their processes moving forward. And it would be unseemly for me not to bring it up because I'm talking about inclusion today. So, Jalur Gemilang, how wayfinding shapes an inclusive Malaysia. This is really, really short teach-in for SEATRAMS today. My name is Hasbi. I have bipolar disorder. I also have ADHD. If you saw me fidgeting on the seat, that's part of how it manifests. And if you notice that I'm also shifting around like this. And I have profound hearing loss, which means I wear hearing aids. And I'm representing to SIUMAN to talk about disability, wayfinding, and how we can build an inclusive Malaysia. But more specifically, I'm here to help you ask the right questions. Very brief, SIUMAN is an organization of persons with psychosocial disabilities. We are working for the political enfranchisement and of persons with disabilities in Malaysia. And our main area of focus is are the social determinants of health. Basically, the daily living conditions where circumstances in which people born, grow, live, work, age, and commute. Specific. What are the other social determinants? The distribution of power, money, and resources, the structural drivers of those conditions. What lies behind the conditions of our lives? And the last is the ideology, the measuring, assessing, and understanding of problems and impact of our actions. How we learn and how we process what we learn. So daily living conditions, distribution of power, money, and resources, and ideology. That is what SIUMAN is working on. The social determinants of health. And so, a lot of my presentation, I actually have 20 plus slides. The majority of them are actually setting context. The last 7 slides are the most important. But it is important for you guys to know this. Why are we talking about wayfinding? Why is a disabled person talking about wayfinding and inclusion? Right. So what is wayfinding? The context is the cognitive and physical process of navigating through a physical or digital environment to reach a destination. Everything that helps you orient you in that space, including signage, landmarks, architecture, maps, and sensory cues are part of wayfinding. And what is inclusive? Again, this is why I brought up, this is an all-male panel. Intentionally including everyone. That means the intent must be there to include. Don't expect people to come, but intend for them to come. Intentionally including everyone, ensuring that individuals, regardless of background, identities, or abilities, are treated fairly, valued, empowered to participate fully. In the context of this event, it's basically accessing public transportation. And when I talk about disability, I'm not talking about it as a medical condition. Malaysia has the Persons with Disabilities Act, which formalizes the social model of disability in Malaysia's laws. Whether it is enfranchised or fully protected, that's debatable. But the definition of disability I'm using today is this. Disability is the result of an interaction between individuals with a health condition, whether it is sensory, cognitive, psychosocial, mental, or physical. A person with a health condition interacting with personal and environmental factors, including negative attitudes, inaccessible transportation, why we are here today, and public buildings, and limited social support. So the impairment, my hearing loss is not the disability. If I cannot get hearing aids, that is the disability. And if I wear hearing aids, I get made fun of. That's the disability. So it's not a medical diagnosis, it's a social outcome. Disability is the result of how we organize society. Persons with disabilities face bias and barriers that prevent their equal participation. I see 2 fellow disabled persons here. Ash, not calling you out, don't worry. Ash and Nasro, I appreciate you being here, but we don't have any deaf persons here. We don't have any blind persons here. But these are 2 segments of society which face a lot of barriers when accessing public transportation, among other areas of life. So disability is not an individual problem, it mainly lies in the environment that can be limiting or empowering, depending on many, many factors. And persons with disabilities can and should participate in society. So I want to thank Ernest and the rest of our organizing team to make sure that there is a disabled person here talking about disability. And the push, what does the social model force us to question? Questions us about the elimination of environmental barriers. No ramps. That's why a wheelchair user cannot get into the building. We're looking at the ramp. We're not looking at the person using the wheelchair. It enables the participation of persons with disabilities. Oh, this is the boring stuff. This is more my 9-to-5 work. So make all public services and policies accessible, inclusive, and to ensure accessibility. Where does the social model come from? It comes from the convention. I know this is really boring stuff. I'll just breeze through really quickly. The Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So operationalizing the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Let me ask you a question. Does anyone here know what human rights are? Anyone? Anyone? Okay, I'm just gonna answer for you. What you need is a human right. You have food. You need food. You have a right to food. You need education. You have a right to education. You need public transportation. You have a right to public transportation. So the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities operationalize the Universal Declaration of Human Rights for persons with disabilities. So we have the same needs as non-disabled persons: good nutrition, accessible housing, public transportation, quality education, healthcare, social protection, inclusion, security, or personhood. These are not special needs. If anything, these are unmet needs. There are many persons with disabilities where these needs are not met at all. So part of how we meet those needs is through universal design. Thank you very much, Ernest, for setting the stage just now. As I go through the principles, there are 7 principles of universal design. Please think back at how Ernest's presentation looked like. What colors did he choose? Where was the placement of the images? So what is universal design? Is the design of products, environments, programs, and services to be usable by all people to the greatest extent possible without the need for adaptation or specialized design. This is a very short, concise definition. There is a lot more nuance and context which I cannot cover in 7 minutes, 38 seconds. But generally, this is what we're looking at. The idea in universal design, at least for persons with disabilities, is to equalize opportunity. Let me stop and pause and add a bit of personal context. There are a lot of times when I interact with non-disabled persons, one of the refrains I usually hear is, "We treat you the same." That may sound fair to you, or "I don't see disability," which may sound very magnanimous, very, very good of this other person to say, but actually that's wrong. You should see the disability, because if you don't acknowledge the disability, you do not provide access. That is the first thing I hope you guys can take away from this. And treating us like normal, treating us the same, that's actually also invisibilizing the disability, because it's not about equal treatment, it's about equal enjoyment of rights. So let me frame it for all the transit enthusiasts in the room. I used to enjoy riding public transport. I used to. But the idea is that I and other disabled persons should be able to enjoy public transportation on the same level as everyone else. We should be able to access it. But the minute a lift goes down, escalator goes down, some persons with disabilities are automatically excluded. So now, let me go through, and this is the important slides, right? Let me go through the principles. And for some of you who may be urban designers, architects, this may be boring for you. But for the others, 2 minutes, thank you. Principle 1, useful and marketable to persons with diverse abilities. That means we provide the same means of use for all users. We avoid segregating. And their provisions for privacy, security, and safety should be equally available to all users. And we must make the design appealing. Now, any of the designs appealing that Ernest showed on his slides just now? So one of the things that he pointed out was there is no digital equivalent to QR Pay. So now that's principle 1. Provide the same means of use for all users, identical whenever possible, equivalent when not, or we don't segregate users. Now, when you apply this to physical spaces, it's quite easy to see. And let's go on to the next slide. Principle 2, flexibility in use. It accommodates a wide range of individual preferences and abilities, provides choice, accommodates right and left-handed access and use, facilitates the user accuracy and precision, and provide adaptability to the user space. So that timer there is providing adaptability to pace. The timer that I'm looking. The X here on the floor. The X here on the floor is facilitating my accuracy and precision. This is part of universal design. Principle 3, use of design is easy to understand. It eliminates unnecessary complexity, consistent with user expectation and intuition. So if your sign is all on the left, and suddenly after a turn, the signs are on the right, that's no longer consistent. You accommodate a wide range of literacy and language skills. You arrange information according to hierarchy, and you provide effective prompting and feedback during and after task completion. That's prompting me. There's one timekeeper in the back also prompting me that time's up. Communicate necessary information effectively. Use different modes. So you can present it in a picture, you can present it in text, and there is an audio cue as well. And provide adequate contrast between essential information and its surroundings. And you maximize the legibility of essential information. You differentiate elements in ways that can be described. That means look for the red signboard or look for the black wall. So it is easily described to people. Provide compatibility with a variety of techniques or devices. So technically, I can use this to connect to a hearing loop, a T-coil. But the only T-coil in Malaysia is on the MRT and it doesn't work. It's not on. So principle 5, tolerance for error. The design minimizes hazards. Arrange elements. Basically, this is what you can read, right? And provides fail-safe features. So this is good design because they actually tape down the wire so that I don't trip over it. And it discourages unconscious actions in tasks that require vigilance. Principle 6, it can be used efficiently and comfortably. It allows the user to maintain a neutral body position, readable operating forces. So you don't need the strength of 10 men. Thank you. 1.5 minutes. You don't need the strength of 10 men to open a door, basically. And you minimize repetitive actions and minimize sustained physical effort. Principle 7, size and space for approach and use. Close to the end. There is appropriate size and space. So for wheelchair users, they need to be appropriate. Enough size and space to approach the ramp, turn if needed, and navigate the ramp. Provide clear line of sight, make reach or components comfortable for any seated or standing user. So accessible toilet, the door handle must be within reach of a wheelchair user. A lot of times it's not. It accommodates variations in hand and grip size. It provides adequate space for the use of assistive devices and personal assistance. Now, in closing, this isn't the point. How do we build an inclusive Malaysia? Where is our wayfinding? How do we find our way? I posit that the principles of university design, being equitable, providing tolerance for error, being inclusive, marketable, appealing to people, accommodating a wide range and variety of people. I would argue that university design can be applied as well to our countries, but we're not. So I urge you, in closing, that every conversation we have about disability must lead to more access. It does not necessarily have to be about disability. Now, remember when I mentioned the social model of disability earlier, a person with a health condition interacting with negative social norms and inaccessible public spaces, the result of the interaction is disability. Remove the health condition. A person interacting with negative social norms, inaccessible public spaces, and inaccessible processes. There are many more people disabled by society who may not know it, but you are being disabled by society because you're being excluded. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hasbi, for the very powerful reminder and for unpacking the many very important and very critical considerations that, we challenge you all, city designers, architects, engineers out here. But really, it's always important to keep in mind to always involve the people when you do the designing for your cities. And next, I want to give the floor to Lee. Let's please give him a round of applause.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Kek Feng. I'm a graphic designer. I run a studio in Malaysia, a graphic design studio. Yes, I'm involved in a BAS project in the whole Malaysia, and also beside that, I work for like branding design and information design and key visual design. So I quickly show what I did. So today, mainly I'm focusing on the BAS design. I'm going to talk about it. Also, I work for a culture project as well, so something related with the privacy. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes. Can jump to the PDF. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So I'm gonna talk about the bus design and the progress, how we run through it with our team. So first thing first, like before we start on the project, we always have to analyze what we're facing out and the problem we have. So like the bus normally what before we start, we always work on the we find out the problems like inconsistent visual, like quite normal, and then unclear information is not clear enough, and the bus is they are hard to identify, and we have to rethink approach again. So we find another way. So how we gonna think? We think as like passengers. So like every day, how you gonna start your journey? So what you want to do, and from point to point. So so we try to make a system very straightforward. The system has to be consistent across the bus design because it's related with the whole country and the roadmap as well. So and then we try before that. Of course, we do a lot of research about the colors of the bus. It's quite important. So the first thing you see, look at on the street is about the bus. And then we try to analyze like around the world, like what kind of color they use a lot, and then it's quite important. And mostly also the color has to relate with the identity. So you can see from that. Just now I missed actually before I start to work before I start my company in Malaysia, I used to live in the Netherlands for many years and then in China as well. So I like to discover a lot the bus also, and then also the public transport. And so I try to analyze what happened outside and what happened in Malaysia. So and then we walk on the bus, and before actually the BAS.MY before that was the My Bus actually, and then they rebranded. What is next? So we try to figure out what can we do. Compare with others. So we always look at it. And in the key visual, like the visual identity, always look at we try to find a keyword, the concept for the bus. So like what is like relate, what is the special of a BAS.MY, and also what is about, what's relate with the passengers as well. So the user experience is quite important. So before that, and then we also try to figure out the logo and then how it should look like, and then the whole identity. Because the BAS.MY in the whole Malaysia, except Selangor, Kuala Lumpur, and Penang, they don't have the bus. The rest of the country they have the bus service. And also they also the bus will focus on the small town and then village as well. So they will go through different points. So it's quite important to relate the BAS.MY as well with the name, because the new name is BAS.MY. So we use the dot as an identity for the bus. So we create, and then we also try to make a system out of that. And with the concept, we try to make it happy and cheerful, and we also try to do a lot of tests of the colors. It has to look quite outstanding on the street as well. And the colors, we do a lot of tests. Actually, this color is quite hard to reach there because it's a fluorescent color. So it's really special color, and then we do a lot of tests, and then because we want to make it more unique on it. And we try many times, and then we also try to make a system for the bus, because the bus is they have many kind of different model bus, and different model bus they will run to like different street, also according to the population on the state. So from the model of the system, we can make like very flexible identity. Like for instance, you look at the many dots. The dot can create like the bus design is all the bus is look different and the design look different, but they stay the same visual language as well. Okay, you can, you can see, look at the bus. So there are many different kind of models. So we try to use put to 6 different buses. You can see that. And then, we create a system out of that. So you can really see that. And also, this is the bus on the route. And like the small buses, because nowadays, in Malaysia, is getting the bus sekolah, the school bus is getting less and less. So the bus also they have to serve for the kid as well in the village. They will the small bus like this. They will go to the kampong as well. And also, we also make a typeface out of that. So we do a custom typeface for the bus identity. And the bus, the typeface is called Cheria. So we have we try to make the whole system out of that. And of course, the hardest thing is the map. So we have to make the map as well. When we got the info from IPAD, so it's quite challenging for us. And then we try to keep all the data, and we look at it how we can simplify the map. So it's quite challenging for us. And this is the map for Malacca, and another map for Kanga and Ipoh as well. So we try to simplify. So when people when the passengers they look at it, they're very clear for them, and then can find they can find a way where they want to go. And we try to make it clean and clear. So I think this is a very complex project I ever do in my life. It's quite challenging.
It looks very complex.
Yeah. So in the end, I think it took us quite some time to finish the project. So wait for a moment. Number three, sorry. Number 3, go back. Could you replay it? It doesn't show. It's not okay. So you can see the map. So we try to make the map for. So until nowadays, we still try to update it. So just follow that command, and we try to finalize it because it's super complex. So we need many eyes to look at it. Thank you. So the Malacca, and we try to. In the end, we try to build a system out of this. So we make a system for the bus design. a type as well. Thank you. Yeah, yes, actually it's quite challenging to work on it. Also, we learn a lot from that. Yeah, actually my presentation is, it's kind of ending. I can share what I got back from the passengers. At one time I went to the event with the opening event, I think in Ipoh, and got one lady, after she talked with me, she's fine, it's really, the machi, she find really, she's really happy to look at it. And I find it really grateful. She said, she start to realize, how it could function, especially she look at the map. I find, it's really, for me, it's really meaningful for it. And I'm happy to work on the project. And my team as well, because everybody is quite suffer, especially for the maps. It's not easy to go. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Lee. That was super impressive. And can I just say, I really love the color. Is it pink, purple? Forgive me, but I really like it. Last but not the least, let us give the stage to Akyel.
So, hi everyone. My name is Akyel. I'm from Transit Malaysia as a volunteer, as a regular volunteer member. I've been here for about 3 years at this point. So, the conversation I want to have today is just a brief introduction. Transit Malaysia, we're a registered non-governmental organization advocating for the improvements and better public transport in the Klang Valley primarily, and but also the wider Malaysia. So I just want to pose this question: is why do we gather here for this workshop? And that is because we believe that, I'm pretty sure everyone here believes, that good wayfinding is key to a good public transport system. So the question becomes, and as anyone here that's probably had to try and navigate at least using KL's example first, anyone that's tried to navigate it might notice, signage is inconsistent, it's messy, it's very echoey. It's messy, it's very inconsistent, some information is inaccurate, it's out to date. So, but the question is, and I'm sure that you guys, the ones that have been here, since yesterday, does Malaysia have bad wayfinding, or does Malaysia lack a unified and cohesive wayfinding decision? Now, admittedly, bad and good wayfinding can be subjective, but there are many places where you can find a place with a unified and cohesive wayfinding vision within their own networks. For example, when you board Rapid KLs, when you enter their stations, when you enter MRT stations, they all have their own unique design, cohesive wayfinding vision. But we believe that, here at Transit, we genuinely believe that poor wayfinding is a governance issue. Because as you guys have all probably seen now, and I'm not saying this against any of the government officials that are here today, okay, this is nothing against you guys, but as you guys have probably seen since yesterday, we have plenty of solutions. You guys are probably, making all these signages, all these posters on the board, probably already, coming up with your own ideas about what good signage is. You've probably seen, you saw Kek Feng's work just now. You saw Ernest's ideas for bus stop designs. So if the solutions are there, why is our wayfinding still messy? And the answer is the absence of governance. So a quick crash course on land public transport regulation in Malaysia. In 2010, Suruhanjaya Pengangkutan Awam Darat was set up as a sort of statutory body to regulate, as an independent statutory body under the government to regulate, oversee, and sort of, basically plan our public transport system, regulate our public transport system, basically ensure that it's functioning and enforce all the laws that it implements. So this signage that Ernest presented earlier came out from SPAD. The logo is actually there at the very bottom. Now I still remember when this was still quite new, sometime in like 2013, 2014. And I would say, even though I never had to use the bus back then, but you see how the information is there, and basically this was something you can see all the way from Gombak to Sepang. This was the sign you saw, no matter where you were in the Klang Valley, no matter what bus route you were using. This was what you saw. That's the consistency you see. But after SPAD was dissolved in 2018, in early 2019, after only 9 years in operation, you could say that that's where the fragmentation begins. But even then, that's not necessarily SPAD's fault in terms of incohesive wayfinding. This, for example, here is this was in Putrajaya, by the way. This was just basically a live feed of Rapid KL's bus kiosk to display where the buses were. This is something I encountered, and you could tell it was sort of like in a way, the touchscreen was very inaccessible. If you were visually impaired, you probably would not be able to navigate this at all. But it was probably just placed there because this was the simplest solution they could come up with. There's no sort of like accountability as to who actually enforces all of these signages, all of these systems. In July 2017, as you can see on the date here, this was the map that SPAD created, an evolution, and essentially the current map that you guys see at our train stations. This was like one of the original variations. You can see SPAD's logo. There's a consistent 90-45. It's either fully straight or fully horizontal, 45 degrees. There's no weird corners. It's a consistent, clean design. It doesn't solve some of the core issues, but it goes to show what they were. You can see what they were trying to achieve here, and you can see the dashed lines representing the MRT and the LRT lines that weren't created, and you can see here the BRT Federal line, rest in peace, that never came through. That's actually something I could sort of segue into right now, because you could argue that the federal BRT, just for those who don't know, the federal highway is the busiest highway in Malaysia. It connects Kuala Lumpur. It starts near Mid Valley and runs all the way to the city of Klang and extends onwards to Port Klang, the country's main port. It passes through the main suburbs, Petaling Jaya, Subang Jaya. So it is like the busiest highway in the country. I call it the permanent car park because I've never been faster than like 70 kilometers per hour on that road. And the idea was, in the early 2010s, they wanted to build a bus lane, a bus rapid transit, similar to what they do in Jakarta and other Indonesian cities, a median bus network from that starts around Kuala Lumpur. I would have run along the federal highway through Petaling Jaya, along the usual corridors and terminate there in Klang. Unfortunately, it was shelved. It was a victim of a lot of things, including there was some politics involved. This is recorded, so I can't say much. But yes, there was some politics involved, and basically, it was very difficult to get the project off the ground because of the lack of will, and also the unwillingness to sort of pull that off. But I digress. This was in KL Central just now. Do you guys recognize these signages? This was all in KL Central. KL Central is supposed to be our Kuala Lumpur's main central station. You would assume that as a tourist who just freshly landed in KL, there would be more or less a consistent visual language about where you're supposed to go, and especially imagine if you just landed here for the first time, you want clear signage of where you want to go, and this is what you're greeted with. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is only the ones I could fit in the slide, by the way. These are like 5 different variations of signages in KL Central itself, at our central train station. You have these two, this one here and this one here, is done by ERL, and it can be found in their sections at the KLIA Express and KLIA Transit platforms. You have the MRT style signage here that Fusion Works presented yesterday. This is the one pointing towards where the link to the Museum Negara MRT station is, and these two. This one right here is the original. If you guys don't know, if you guys see this sign with the Jill Sans font, this is the original KL Central's wayfinding system. It uses a Jill Sans font similar to what Malaysia airports used when KLIA first opened in 1998, because KL Central was supposed to be a city air terminal, so they wanted to sort of like use a similar design language to sort of like achieve that sort of consistency, the feel that you're in a major transport hub, and this is the signage that was being used. But eventually, then you can see even then it digressed. It digressed all the way to like it digressed to this different font. I'm not sure what this one is called. Ernest? Yeah, I also can't tell. Yeah, I can't. I'm not sure either. But even then, you can tell. Look at this, and I can tell you already how it's outdated. KTM doesn't use the Antara Bandar branding anymore in Kuala Lumpur. It's all ETS. A tourist wouldn't know that, But I guess that's a whole different conversation about KTM's branding as well. So you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's like 5 different types of fragmented wayfinding here. In KL Central alone, which is supposed to be, where tourists come, they expect a consistent visual design. This is what they want to see. This is some examples from other transport hubs around the city that I've been to. This is a map of the Smart Selangor free bus network at Mitsui Outlet Park. Again, uses a map design similar to like what is presented here. Copies it, but not quite the same. This is at the BRT station along the Sunway. This is at the BRT station along the BRT Sunway line. You look at this and you might question: is this a road sign or is this a pedestrian sign? It's quite big. It's taller than me. It's like way taller than me. The text is like very big, and it points to places you can't even really walk to that much. So that is another question. This is at the Bandar Utama station at one powerhouse that connects the Shah Alam line and the Kajang line. And because it's a privately maintained place, again, inconsistent. There's a different design altogether from what Rapid KL uses. You have this sign pointing to a taxi. You have like this yellow on black, yellow logo on black background. And then this is like the classic KTM commuter design. They use a lot of like this white text on blue background, and sometimes they use blue text on white background for some reason, pointing to platform 2-3, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B, exit gate D, platform 4. A lot of numbers, right? A lot of numbers and letters that might be quite a bit confusing. And then I just included this side because I just wanted to point out how in the early 90s and 2000s, Malaysia airports was implementing a consistent wayfinding design. It's not the best, I will say, but it's consistent. This is all taken in Kuching Airport, and it all still applies. The departures, the international departures, all uses that Jill Sans font similar to what was used in KL Central at the time. And these are just some experimenting I did in Microsoft Word to sort of replicate the text. So later on, when you go to KLIA, you'll probably still see remnants of this text. So basically, what in this brief time that we have, this is what we want to argue is poor wayfinding is a governance issue. Absence of a centralized land public transport authority leads to incohesive design. We can come up with all these beautiful, beautiful designs for different networks, but at the end of the day, if they're not the same, then what's the point? And again, as I point back to this sign here, right here, all the way Gombak to Sepang, 50 kilometers across, this was the same sign you got everywhere. It didn't matter. And sort of like, that was sort of the vision they went with. So a centralized land public transport authority is needed to oversee our transit wayfinding, because we can have, like as you mentioned just now, it's not a design issue. We have the solutions. We have good designers. We have all these brilliant ideas coming through, but if no one is around to sort of regulate it, to sort of like oversee this implementation, ensure that things go up to a certain standard, then we just end up with the current issues that we have today. Again, so when good wayfinding is present, people will feel more comfortable with trying public transport. And I'm just gonna mention like an anecdote. My mom, for example, she doesn't regularly use the train; she drives. And every time she wants to use the train, she always has to consult with me. She will call me and text me everything, asking, "Oh, how do I get here? How do I get there?" Because there's nowhere pointing her. So in some ways, people say that good design is when you don't even notice it. I would like to think that good design is when my mom can go to the mall by train without needing to call me. And I hope one day we will achieve that through all the work that we do in this room today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Akyel. And I 100% agree with you that this is a governance issue, and I believe it's the same for other countries as well. I could say so for the Philippines. We're all in the same boat, but we've come a long way, but there's still a long, long way to go. So now